Hey everybody, welcome back to the channel and welcome back to another video. We are out here in the garage today. I wanted to talk to you guys about the 2022 Jeep Gladiator Rubicon Ecodiesel. I've had this truck for one full year now. We put 20,000 miles on it in the past year, and I just want to talk to you guys about all the things I love about the truck and some of the shortcomings of the vehicle as well. So back in, I think, 2018 or 2019, when they first introduced this vehicle platform, this truck platform, I was intrigued, to say the least. I actually wanted to get one back then. At that time, I had a 97 TJ, which I used as, a trail toy, and then I was daily driving a 2015 Jeep Wrangler JKU. I really enjoyed both of those vehicles. However, when the diesel came out in the Gladiator, that's when I knew I had to pull the trigger and go ahead and get it. So what I ended up doing is I ended up selling the TJ, and then I used that money as a down payment towards this Gladiator. So I got the truck I wanted. Like I said, we've had it for a full year now. So this truck and or Jeep, I'm probably going to use those two things interchangeably, is used as my primary daily driver vehicle. This is what takes me back and forth to work every single day. Right now I'm driving about 30 minutes to work and back. I was earlier in the year driving an hour to work and an hour back, so that's where actually a lot of these miles got racked up. So we've also taken this truck on long road trips. We did take a trip down to Hot Springs, Arkansas, then swung up through a S'more off-road park, and then back home, which it was about a 2,000 mile round trip. We've also taken it through the 7-hour plane crash trail, which is through Crandon, Wisconsin, up through Michigan's Upper Peninsula, and then all the way back home as well. I think that trip was right around 1,000 miles or so. So I've taken it on some long trips. When it comes to on-road mannerisms of this truck, compared to, say, if you're coming from an older Jeep, it does amazing. So I was used to driving my TJ and my JKU, which, if you're used to driving a Jeep, it's okay, but going from one of those vehicles to something like this, with this has a much longer wheelbase, it's just so much smoother on the road at highway speeds. The JK and the TJ, 65, 70 miles an hour is really the top speed I'd want to get one of those things. I have no problems kind of pushing the limits with this truck just because it's just a lot smoother on the road. In contrast, those other vehicles are much better on the trail. So the two main engine options when it comes to a Jeep Gladiator is the 3.6 Pentastar. That's the engine that's been in these Jeeps for years, all the way back to the JKs. I think they started putting them in the JKs in 2012, and then previous year JKs were the 3.8 liter. But yeah, it's been in the JKs for a long time, and then they put them in the JLs, and now they're putting them in the JTs, and that's what this is. JT is the Jeep Gladiator. It's a tried and true engine. However, I have that engine in my JKU, and it really hasn't given me a whole lot of issues. The only thing is, it's not the torquiest of engines, and when I got a truck, it's like, I want the extra power. I want that low-end torque. Whereas the 3.6 engine, you really got to get up high into your RPM range just to get the horsepower and any kind of movement out of that vehicle. And then once you throw 38s on and a 4-inch lift, long arms, winch bumpers, all that stuff, it's a slug. It's pretty slow. I'm kind of a grandpa driver anyway. I don't really need to go 90 miles an hour in a Jeep. It's just one of those things. It's nice to have that extra get up and go when you need it. And that's why I was really intrigued with the diesel engine. So the diesel option isn't for everybody. It is a lot more expensive. I think it was a $4,000 option from the factory. So you got that upfront cost of that. Diesel is quite a bit more expensive to buy than just regular gasoline. Here in Michigan, I want to say diesel is right around $5.50 a gallon right now, whereas regular unleaded is $3.70 to $3.80, right around there. So you're talking, $1.50 to almost $2 a gallon difference for a fuel cost. You also got to take into effect that the fact that you had to put DEF fluid in these. I think from the factory they say you can go 10,000 miles on a tank of DEF, which is 5 gallons. There's a 5-gallon DEF tank in these. That has not been the case for what I've seen. On average, I'm filling that DEF tank every, I would say, 5,000 miles. I can't get the 10,000 miles that they say out of it. That's not that big of a deal. A lot of people don't like the DEF because for the most part you have to go to the gas station and buy these boxes of DEF fluid. They come in 2.5 gallon containers. You have to get 2 of them. You got to crack the box open, dump it in your tank. It's kind of cumbersome, and the boxes are relatively expensive. However, I did find a loophole for this. There is a gas station not even 5 minutes up the road from me that sells DEF fluid right at the pump. So if you have a diesel Jeep and you don't want to deal with the boxes, try to find a gas station local to you that has DEF right at the pump. It's way cheaper, it's just a lot more convenient, and you're just going to save a lot of time and money doing it that way. Some of the other downfalls with the diesel is, high cost for diesel, the DEF fluid, and I have heard of people having issues with the DEF system and just the diesels overall with depowering, especially if it's really hot out, if you're going up slopes, if you're towing. In my 20,000 miles in my year that I had this truck, 0 issues. It performs like it should perform. I've never had it in the shop for anything other than routine oil changes. And that's the other thing that can get expensive with the diesel as well. Apparently the oil changes do cost more money than just a regular oil change. If you buy your Jeep Gladiator or JL brand new, they have what's called there's a program, the Jeep Wave program, and I forget how many oil changes are free under that. And my first couple oil changes have been free from the dealership, so I haven't paid for an actual oil change at this time. I did want to touch on the fact of why I wanted a Jeep Gladiator to begin with. So the Jeep Wrangler JKU is what I currently have that vehicle. It's now my off-roading vehicle. However, it is a little bit more limited on space. We have a daughter, 2 dogs, my wife. We got a growing family, wanted a little bit bigger of a vehicle. Is this a massive vehicle where you're going to, haul 5 kids around in? Absolutely not. However, just for us, it works really well. We got 3 seats in the back, 2 up front, and you have the entire cargo area in the bed as well. So when we're going on longer road trips, and a lot of our road trips tend to be like wheeling road trips where we're going to like an off-road park or something along those lines, we got to bring all of our gear as well, which we could do that in the JKU. It's just, it was really tight. There wasn't a whole lot of storage space. And just, you didn't have the capacity to get all your gear and everyone that had to come with me into the JKU. The Jeep Gladiator can tow more. I think this one's rated to tow right around 6,500 pounds. The max tow package for the Gladiator, if you get the 3.6, I think it's up to 7,700 or 7,800 pounds, right around there. Honestly, I think the Gladiator diesel probably would tow better. It's just the fact that the engine is heavier, so they don't give you as high of a tow capacity. However, I feel like it is a more powerful, more torquey engine, so you're probably going to have an easier time towing with it. The heaviest thing that we really tow is our boat. I think it's right around 3,000 pounds. We have a couple of jet skis too in the jet ski trailer. I think that's like 1,500 pounds. So this truck has no issue pulling those. And typically we're not taking those far anyway. I do want to compare really briefly the Jeep Gladiator versus the Jeep Wrangler. So this Gladiator is a 2022. My Jeep Wrangler is a 2015. So obviously it's not the JL platform. So it's not, apples. It's more apples to oranges than anything. However, I just wanted to compare the two. On-road capability, Gladiator all the way. The longer wheelbase just makes a much smoother ride, whereas the shorter wheelbase in the JKU just makes it a lot more of a bumpy ride, and just, it's not as enjoyable for longer road trips. For off-roading, the JKU all the way, and that's going to be the fact for pretty much any Wrangler out there. The shorter wheelbase when you're off-roading is just going to be a lot better in the fact that a lot of these trails here in Michigan, they're really tight. You're in and out of wooded areas, and the biggest problem with the Gladiator, I feel like, is the breakover angle. I mean, it's a long truck, and then the departure angle on the back end. And then the fact that a lot of these trails that we're going through are, like I said, they're really tight. So you really got to watch the back end of this vehicle when you're coming around a tree, and you really just got to watch your quarter panels in the back. The other thing too, it's like when you're coming off a ledge in this truck, you're coming right down onto your spare tire. I would like to figure out a skid system to put in the back there. That way, if I do come down on that spare tire, I'm not going to scuff it all up or potentially even, puncture it. So those are the biggest downfalls with the Gladiator off-road. Breakover angle, when you're coming up over a ledge or whatever, you're going to belly out a lot of times. I don't have a huge lift on this truck, and I didn't want a huge lift. One, I want to fit this truck inside my garage. We just have standard 7-foot garage doors. So I didn't want to put like a 5-inch, 6-inch lift on this thing and put 40s on it because it definitely would not fit. I guess next we could talk about modifications that I've done with this. So for modifications on this truck, I did make a list because I'm sure I was going to forget something. So we're just going to run through this. So anytime anyone buys a Jeep, pretty much the first thing they do is wheels and tires. For obvious reasons, these trucks from the factory, the Rubicon doesn't look horrible, but I feel like the Overland model and the Sport model, the Willys model, they need something. They need, bigger tires. They need to be lifted up a little bit. I guess not so much the Willys, just because the Willys does have the knobbier tires and it does have the skid plates. But a lot of these trucks, they sit relatively low, I feel like, and they just look so much better with a little bit of a lift and bigger tires. So I didn't go crazy with the lift on this. We just did a 2-inch AEV spacer lift. I just wanted to maintain the Fox shocks that come with this truck. I've heard good things about them, and I've really had no issues with them, so I'm glad I kind of went that route. So the next thing that I did was tires, and I did keep the factory wheels. I think the factory wheels look actually pretty good, and I was able to put the tires that I wanted on them. So the wheels that came on this were a set of Falcon Wild Peak all-terrains, and they were in a 33-inch. I ran those tires for about a month, and it was in the middle of winter. It was December of last year, January of last year, and we had some really bad snowstorms. Those tires perform flawlessly in the snow. Honestly, best snow tire I've ever had. So, huge fan of the Falcon Wild Peaks. They are awesome tires. I like them so much that when I went to go put 37s on, I wanted the same exact tire. So I went to Discount Tire. They got me a set of 5 Falcon Wild Peak all-terrains and a 37 by 12.5 by 17, which I was able to put right on the factory wheel. Next thing that modification-wise is I wanted a winch on this truck. I do have the bumper that is winch capable with this vehicle, and really you just need a winch plate. So I got a Warn winch plate, and I did go with the Badlands 12K synthetic winch from Harbor Freight. Yeah, I know it's a Harbor Freight winch, but it gets amazing reviews. It's fairly priced, and so far, as many times as I've used it, which has been a handful of times, it's never left me stranded, and it's been working really great for me. The next thing I did upgrade is these JCR rock sliders. So the factory Rubicon JT does come with factory sliders. However, they only kind of protect down here. These body panels right here, these are all exposed with those. And the first time I had this thing out wheeling, it was on the other side, but I put a big dent. I think it was kind of right in this, it was like right under the door, like right in this general area. We were wheeling in some ice and snow, and I was up on a turn, and my vehicle just kind of slid on the ice right into like a rock. Put a big dent right through here. So I immediately got rid of those sliders, and then I upgraded to these JCR sliders. So these are just going to protect the sides of the vehicle so much better. And they are beefy. I've come down on rocks on these things quite a bit, especially when we were at Hot Springs, when we were at S'more Off-Road Park. These things, saved me from probably quite a bit of damage. So upgraded rock rails, I think, is a must if you're going to have a long Jeep Gladiator, just because it's such a vulnerable spot. You really need to protect that area. So if you have a Rubicon or a Willys, just get rid of the factory sliders, upgrade them to something like this. So underneath, I did do a full set of metal cloak skids. They are the steel skids, and they are beefy and heavy, and they run all the way from the front of the vehicle all the way to the back of the vehicle. Luckily, I haven't scraped them up too much, and like I said, I'm not hardcore off-roading with this Jeep. However, it is just peace of mind. If I'm coming down on something, I don't want to, come down on my DEF tank or, something that's really important and, puncture something. So full belly skids on these trucks, I think, is a must, just because they are so long, and like I said, the breakover angle on them is really bad. So you want to have a lot of skids down there just to protect those areas. Another thing I did upgrade, I did go with the KBD fenders. When we were at S'more Off-Road Park, I did clip one of the fenders on a tree or something like that and broke off my blinker. I wasn't a big fan of the factory fenders anyway, so as soon as I got home, I ordered the KBD ones. I've been running KBD flat fenders on my JKU for 5 or 6 years now, and they are pretty much indestructible. They're a polyurethane material. They're not steel, so they're going to bend before they break. And I think they look great. And these ones have the blinkers built right into them, and I've had no issues with them whatsoever. I did upgrade to Oracle taillights in the rear. I don't like the factory taillights that come with the Jeep Gladiators, just for the simple fact they look good. It's just they stick out. They stick out probably an inch or two past the truck bed. So a lot of people, when they're off-roading, what happens is they'll cut like a corner too close and they'll clear the truck bed, but that taillight catches on a tree or a stump or whatever, and they rip right off. I'm sure you guys have seen that in videos time and time again. So the Oracle ones are more flush mounted, and they look really good as well. So when I did put those on, I do have a Taser JL Mini that I use, and I had to use that to flash them and just make sure they kind of made it up with the truck. I did put an RCI half rack on the truck bed. I did this because I knew I was eventually going to get a rooftop tent, which I did get a Tough Stuff Alpha 2 rooftop tent, which is actually hanging right above my head right now. So the RCI rack, it's been a solid rack. I didn't want the full rack just for the simple fact that I wanted the rooftop tent to sit level with the top of the vehicle. And for the most part, it does. I think it maybe sticks up 1/2 inch to 1 inch higher than the back of the truck, but it's actually not too bad. It clears the garage door no problem. And I think it's just overall a great rack. It's been a great setup. Currently I have an axe on one side strapped to it, and then I do have a shovel on the other side. I do have some new MaxTrax boards that I need to figure out a place to mount those as well. But for the most part, that's been a great rack for me. I highly recommend it to anybody. And the reason why I went with the RCI rack is it works with the BAK X4S Revolver tonneau cover, which is a tonneau cover that rolls up. And you can actually put a little bit of weight on those tonneau covers as well. So it just basically functions as extra storage for us when we're going on longer road trips. So in the back of the truck, I do keep my Dometic fridge. I've had that fridge for years. I used to run it in the back of the JKU. Now I just run it in the back of the Gladiator. It's just your standard Dometic 35 liter. I don't even know the nomenclature on it, but Dometic makes a good brand, makes a good product, and I've never had any issues with that fridge. It's been great. I also have a WeBoost cell phone signal booster. I've used this a couple times. Actually, the last time I used it was when we did that 7-hour plane crash trail. We were up in upper Wisconsin and then up in Michigan's Upper Peninsula. Pretty much no cell phone service whatsoever. And it works to a degree. You have to have at least a little bit of cell phone signal boost, or signal to boost that signal. So if you're in a spot that has no service whatsoever, it's not going to work for you. So I do have a dash cam. It's a 3-channel dash cam. It's a Viofo A139. I don't really use it all that much. Basically, it's just there for security purposes. If I get in a car accident, I'll have proof of what happened. I do use bullet point mounts in the cab, and it holds my phone, holds my GoPro, holds my GMRS radio, which is a Midland GMRS radio. Those mounts are awesome. They are basically very similar to the 67 Designs mounts. They're just a little bit cheaper, and I think they're just as good. Those are pretty much all the big mods. I mean, there's some small stuff here and there. I mean, there's a truck. I don't have a bed liner in my vehicle, so I have like one of those mat liners that I threw down. I have a couple jerry cans that I keep extra DEF fluid and extra diesel fluid in the back of the truck. Those are just like the cheap ones I got off Amazon. You know, I got that Taser JL Mini that I use to flash the vehicle, because when you're changing tire sizes or gears for that matter, which I have not done in this vehicle, I'm still running the 373 gears. With the diesel engine, you really don't need to change gears out. But what else? Oh, inner fender liners, I forgot about those. I'm sure I'm probably missing a couple modifications here and there, but for the most part, that's all the mods that I've done to this truck. All right, let's go for a test drive. So a couple things I do love about this truck. The clarity on this backup camera, and the forward-facing camera for that matter. Crystal clear. Probably some of the best I've ever seen in a vehicle. So this truck definitely has a lot more low-end torque than the V6 version of it. You know, is it a fast truck? Not really. Will it get you where you need to go? Definitely. Does it have passing power? Absolutely. Between this and my JKU, which has the 3.6, this is much quicker, gets up and goes a lot faster. I'm not a fast driver. I don't really go really fast, but it's nice to have that passing power there if you need it. So the interior of the Jeep Gladiator is actually very nice. You have many hard buttons here. I do have the cold weather group in this truck, which to me, living in Michigan, that's a must. And what's nice is if it's below a certain temperature, which it is today, your heated seats and your heated steering wheel will automatically turn on, which is a nice option. One of my other favorite options in this truck is the adaptive cruise control. I've never had it until I've owned this vehicle, and now that I have it, I will never own another vehicle that does not have adaptive cruise control. Essentially what it is, it's just like cruise control, but it will adjust to the flow of traffic. So if you have it set at 60 and you get behind a vehicle that's going 55, your vehicle will automatically slow down to 55 to match the speed of the vehicle in front of you. This is great for long road trips. We went down to Hot Springs and we went up to the UP. And even for daily driving, when I was going back and forth to the Kalamazoo to work, which is over an hour drive each way, the adaptive cruise control makes driving so much easier. The layout and the feel for inside the vehicle, I just love it. There's really nothing bad to be said about it. You know, I do have the big 8.4-inch screen up here. There's a 7-inch option, and I believe a 5-inch option as well. Just do yourself a favor and get the big screen, the 8.4. So you do have many hard buttons as well. You have down here is where all your Windows controls are. My Jeep does have the 4 switches for the auxiliary group. Right next to the auxiliary buttons, I do have my lockers. So rear only, front and rear, and then the sway bar button, and then the off-road plus button. Overall ride and feel of driving, like I said, they're longer wheelbase Jeeps, so they actually ride really well. I mean, so it's 45 through here, so I gotta slow down a little bit. But I'll take my hand off the wheel and, you know, it's not pulling to one side or another. I mean, it's just going straight down the road. Regarding the space in here, I feel like it's adequate for what I need. I don't spend a whole lot of time in the back seats, but, you know, it's plenty of room for our dogs and our daughter. And I think it is best in class rear seats, rear seating room in the back. The AC and the heat does blow back there too, which is nice. And I feel like there is pretty good storage in this too. You know, for being a mid-sized truck, I do have the locking storage underneath the back seat, and then if you flip forward the back seat, you do have a little bit of storage back there as well. You do have the center console here, which has two compartments, a top one and a bottom one, and then you have a glove compartment up in the front there as well. Overall, I feel like the storage, for the little bit of space that this interior has, I feel like they did a pretty good job with storage space. All right, so why did I choose the Gladiator, which is a mid-sized truck, over, say, a Tacoma or like a full-size truck? Like my wife drives a Dodge Ram, or a Ram. They're not called Dodges anymore. There's a couple reasons why. One, we already have a full-size truck. Like I said, my wife has a Ram. We don't need two full-size trucks. If we ever need to haul anything of some, significant size, we just take her truck. So I chose the Gladiator over, like, say, a Tacoma or a Colorado or any of those other vehicles for the simple fact that solid front axle, solid rear axle, lockers front and rear, disconnecting sway bar. Jeeps just overall, I feel like they're just in a whole different class for off-roading. I'm probably going to hurt some people's feelings when I say that, but, solid front axle really does make a big difference when you're off-roading. Yes, a Tacoma probably would be better on-road, longer road trips, more for an overland vehicle. It'd probably be the better way to go. But honestly, overall, the ride quality in this, I think it's really good. I mean, this is me coming from a TJ and a JK and now the JT. So I'm used to how Jeeps ride. If you're not used to how Jeeps ride and you say you're coming from, a Ram or another full-size vehicle, maybe it's going to be totally different for you. I drive my wife's Ram every once in a while, and that thing it's a really nice truck. I mean, it drives really nice. But overall, I mean, I don't think my Gladiator is really any worse than what her vehicle is. It is going to be a little bit smaller of a truck, so the wind is going to push it around a little bit more, and that's just the fact that, one, it's smaller, two, it's lifted, it's got bigger tires, so the wind does catch it a little bit more, but not nearly as bad as what the JKU is. I feel like that JKU it's a 4-inch lift on 38, so it just gets blown around everywhere. Miles per gallon. In this truck, when I first got it, I was getting high 20s. When it was completely stock, that's with the diesel model. When it was no lift, 33-inch tires, I only had it that way for like 3 or 4 weeks. So if I remember, I want to say it was between 26 and 30, which is really good. Now with the 2-inch lift and 37s and all the weight that I've added to it with the rack and the bumpers and the winch and all that stuff, so I've added quite a bit of weight to this truck, but I'm still averaging 23 miles to the gallon, which I think is phenomenal for any truck for that matter. So I do know if I was getting the gas version of this vehicle, I think the rating on those is 18, 19 combined. So once you add lift tires, all the extra weight, I mean, you're gonna drop down to probably that 15 to 16 range, I would think. So overall, I'm very happy with the gas mileage, or fuel mileage, I should say. So overall, if I had to do it all over again, would I buy this truck again, or would I get something different? I would hands down buy this truck again. If I was to get in a car accident today, I would turn around and buy another one of these trucks with the diesel. There's just so many more reasons why I would stick with this platform over another vehicle. It's extremely versatile. I could take it to work Monday through Friday and then go wheel it on the weekends. The aftermarket support for Jeeps is just crazy. I don't know if there's another vehicle out there that has more aftermarket support than a Jeep. You could pretty much change everything about it. I love the off-road capability of it. Like I said, it's not going to be as good as a Jeep Wrangler. However, for a truck, this is probably the best truck you can get for off-roading. And the fact the doors on the top come off. I mean, what other vehicle can you say that about? Me personally, I haven't taken the doors or the top off this vehicle, but like I said, I have a Wrangler, so in the summertime, I basically run no doors, no top on that thing all summer long. So if I want to go topless, I just hop in that. So this basically stays fully covered. But, I mean, if you wanted to, you could easily do that and enjoy the sun and the wind in your hair. So overall, those are all my thoughts on the Jeep Gladiator platform. I love this truck. Like I said, I don't regret the decision whatsoever in buying it. But what are your guys' thoughts? Do you guys have a Gladiator? Are you thinking about buying one? Put all your thoughts in the comment section below. I do read all my comments, so I will get back to you. And make sure you hit that like and subscribe button so you can stay up to date with all of our latest adventures. We'd love to have you along for the ride. Thanks for watching.